I take a break from the Switch hype to bring you guys this review. So A Monster Calls is a movie that came out in limited release back in December, expanded wide in January last week. This one's directed by J.A. Bayona, and it stars this little kid who's going through some emotional stuff in his life. His mom's got cancer, his grandma's around a little bit more, and he doesn't connect with his grandma. And all of a sudden, this giant talking tree comes to life by his house. It's voiced by Liam Neeson. It grabs Connor, the little kid, out of his room and it says, "Hey, I'm gonna tell you some stories." And that's the premise of our movie. It sounds like a weird premise up front, yes, but I gotta tell you guys, this movie completely hooked me. First of all, the characters in the movie are great. You know, everyone in the movie is doing a really good job. The kid they got to play Connor, he reminded me of a young Asa Butterfield. There's a lot of emotions and a lot of stuff that this kid goes through in this movie. I thought he handled all of it really well. Felicity Jones is his mom, great. Sigourney Weaver is his grandma, also great. And Toby Kebbell, finally Toby Kebbell's in a good movie. He was great in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but then he made like Fantastic Four, Warcraft, which I didn't hate, but it's not really good. Wasn't he in Ben-Hur too? Yeah, so like he's in all these crap movies, but finally he's in a good movie. I thought about it for a second, and his character at first, I didn't really get why he was in the movie, like, you know, reflecting back on the whole scheme of things. But the more I think about it, I'm glad his character was in the movie. It gives Connor someone to talk to and relate to. And another thing I liked about this movie is that no one in this movie is really squeaky clean. Everyone in this felt real. They all felt like human beings. And no one was a cartoon, not even the giant talking tree. Which I gotta say, the effects on that tree, amazing. And the way that they go about telling the tree's stories, also amazing. They have some of these surreal moments, but at no point was I sucked out of the movie like, that's CGI, that's a green screen. Like, obviously it is, but for what they were going for with this story, it really works. Like, from a technical standpoint, I might call this movie a masterpiece. I think a lot of people are gonna compare this movie to the BFG, because, you know, like a loner kid befriends this giant, and it's kind of like that. But like I was saying earlier, how the characters aren't really squeaky clean, this movie is a lot darker than you'd expect. It's not really a kid's movie. It's darker than you would expect a kid's movie to be. Like, the BFG was clearly made for kids. I mean, it tried to appeal to kids and family, but it mainly appealed to kids. It still had the Steven Spielberg charm and everything, but it was kind of just one note the whole way through. This one, there's moments to laugh, there's moments to cry, there's moments to be scared. This is a movie that kids could watch now and will scare the crap out of them, but then they can watch it years later and be like, dude, A Monster Calls was so cool. It's one of my favorite childhood movies. That being said, don't take your little kids to see this because they're gonna start crying in the movie theater. You know, like, show it to them when the Blu-ray comes out. If I have one issue with this movie, it comes near the end. There's a point in the movie they're trying to get across near the end. I don't know if I would really call it a twist, but just one thing that happens near the end of the movie, and it's almost like there's two different endings, and they didn't know which one to go with, so they ended up just sticking both of them in the movie. Because there's a point when this movie fades to black, and I was like, yes, that's perfect, I love it. But then the movie comes back for another 3 to 5 minutes, and the scene that's there, it's not awful, but I was just thinking, like, the scene right before that gave you all the same information, and it was done a lot better. So if you shave off that last scene, I don't really feel like the movie would be damaged in any way. But like I said at the beginning of this video, A Monster Calls completely sucked me into its world. The characters were great, the effects were great, the story was great, the way that they go about telling these stories, and the way that it ties into Connor's reality was really cool. It's something you've seen before in other movies, and one specific movie in particular, but I still think it's a really unique and inventive way of telling the story. So this movie ate crap at the box office last weekend. Guys, if you haven't seen Monster Calls, seriously, go see it. If I'd seen this when it was in limited release in December, it might have cracked my top 10, I'm not really sure. It's a really fun ride, yet it's also kind of an emotional ride too. Few movies can hit all these different levels and hit all of them really well. I'm telling you, whenever we get those like boy and their dog type of stories in theaters now, everyone's always like, oh, this could be the next E.T. But I'm gonna say it right here, A Monster Calls actually could be the next E.T. for this generation. E.T.'s not going away anytime soon, however, A Monster Calls is really good. So if you have seen A Monster Calls, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.